Hello everybody, this is Ahran Sadia, and this is the video all of you subscribers, which the total equals 0, have all been waiting for. Brad Treliving's biggest trade as the Calgary Flames general manager. Now, there was another trade that happened between the Calgary Flames and the New York Islanders that involved 5 pieces that I didn't do. I just chose this one because I did. I thought I should let people know because there was another trade that had as many pieces. But that trade involved Travis Hamonic, and I just chose this one. So let's get into the trade. The trade in particular was mainly about goaltending, because the Flames had Mike Smith, but had traded away Chad Johnson in the deal to get him, the backup goalie from the previous year. So this trade involved some spare parts as well as a goalie. Add some picks in and you basically have the trade. Here was the trade. For Calgary, Eddie Lack, Ryan Murphy, and a 2019 7th round pick. For Carolina, Keegan Kanzing, and a 2019 6th round pick. Now we're going to start with Carolina's side. So Carolina, at the beginning, the first part of the trade is Keegan Kanzing. And Kanzing was a 3rd round pick in 2013 of Brian Burke, the GM that came before Brad Treliving, and he wasn't the key part of this deal. You can tell that from 3 facts. Number 1, he was drafted in 2013. Number 2, he was playing in the ECHL. And number 3, he had played a total of 9 games in the AHL so far in his career. Since the trade, his only time in the AHL was with the San Diego Gulls, Anaheim Ducks affiliate of the AHL, with which he signed a professional tryout contract in February. So let's take him out of the trade. Next part, the 2019 6th round pick, Kevin Wall. He could have been a great goalie with that name, but he was a right winger instead. He played at Pennsylvania State University in his first season, 7 points in 26 games. But as I say for freshmen, don't judge them based on their first year. They're getting adjusted. It takes time. The year before in the BCHL with the Chilliwack Chiefs, he had 64 points in 49 games. So he could end up playing for the Hurricanes in a few years. Just because the points are coming now doesn't mean he can't be an NHL player. So to sum up Carolina's side, a 3rd round pick that hasn't played for them yet. And he's only played 15 total AHL games. And a 6th round pick who could still end up playing games for them. Alright, now time for Calgary's side. First guy, Eddie Lack. So you might remember him as a Canuck, or a Hurricane, or a Flame, or a New Jersey Devil. It'd be really cool if you remembered him as a Flame or a Devil, considering he played 4 games each for both teams. But I'm going to concentrate on what he did as a member of the Flames because that's the part of the deal that we're talking about. So what he'd do as a member of the Flames, as we just said, he contributed 4 games. He started 4 games. Not great. Just 6 months later, he was traded to the Devils. So what did they get for him? Dalton Prout. He's a player who had bounced up and down throughout his career. Of course, he ended up being a superstar on the Flames, right? Nope. Prout played the rest of the 2017-18 season in the AHL with the Stockton Heat, the Calgary Flames affiliate. He had 9 points in 34 games. Not great, definitely not a superstar. He was called up for the start of the 2018-19 season and played 20 games. After the 20 games, he was sent down on a conditioning stint and played 4 games in which he had 3 points. That's pretty good, right? Now here is where it gets murky. I've looked all over the internet for what happened next to Dalton Prout. According to TSN, he was called up by the Flames and then signed a 1-year deal with the Sharks on July 1st. According to Hockey DB, he next played with the Sharks. Wikipedia doesn't mention anything about him. If you know what happened, please let me know in the comments down below, but I'm going to assume the next part of his story was with the Sharks. This past season, he only played 2 games with the Sharks and 3 games with the Barracuda, the San Jose Sharks affiliate in the AHL, because he was injured for most of it. Not sure what's coming next. The point is, he played some games for Calgary, then some games for the AHL affiliate, but nothing beyond that. So we'll decide how important that will be at the end of the trade. Next part. Moving right along. Ryan Murphy. Ryan Murphy was kept for 1 day during the trade, and then placed on unconditional waivers. After that, he signed with the Wild, played most of his time in the AHL, but throughout his career, in his year and a half with the Minnesota organization, he played in 23 games for the Wild. Eventually, on January 30th, he was traded in a 1-for-1 deal to New Jersey for Michael Kapla. He finished the season with New Jersey, and then signed a 1-year deal with the team in the KHL. When the contract was up, he agreed to come back to North America to play for the new AHL affiliate of the Vegas Golden Knights, who are going to play next season in Henderson, the Henderson Silver. We have a great logo. So throughout all that, he didn't play a game for Calgary. Last, the 2019 7th round pick, the third guy, right here. I wish I could say that pick belonged to 8 different teams, but no, we'll have to settle with 2. Carolina and Calgary. Calgary used it on goalie in the WHL, as you can see his name at the top, Dustin Wolf. During his draft-eligible season with the Everett Silvertips in the WHL, he was first in goals against, first in save percentage, second in shutouts, a finalist for goalie of the year in the WHL, a WHL first-team All-Star, and was the WHL and CHL Scholastic Player of the Year. The question is, why did he slide so far? He's a 7th round pick. Well, Will Tomlinson of the Hockey Writers has an answer, and I quote from him. A belief among experts was some teams feared that while he had some significant upside, many of his weaknesses were too substantial to fix and would end up being glaring soft spots throughout his career. According to Tomlinson, and I'm quoting again, one major critique is that he sits low on the butterfly, and while this may be okay for an average netminder, considering he's on the short side, it opens up a lot of space above his shoulders. Even though he's been credited with quick hands, he's creating more work for himself. End quote. Now, I'm not a goalie expert, and I'm not going to dive into his mistakes, but if you want to see more on what Tomlinson says, click above. There's 2 problems that he points out in the article that I want to bring to attention. One is that scouts aren't sure if he's going to grow into his body or not. He's 166 pounds, and another concern is how good this team in Everett is. That was a picture of the CHL and WHL Scholastic Player of the Year. Sorry, didn't show that before. So, we don't know how good he's going to do without that team. That's a good point, but I'm going to point out that during Carter Hart's time in Everett, the goalie before Dustin Wolf, the team never finished under 9th. The team was outstanding. People worried about him on that, and look how he turned out, guiding the Flyers through the playoffs. I'm trying to say that you can have a good team with a good goalie, because while there are plenty of examples that show good teams supporting bad goalies, there are a lot of examples of teams that have good goalies on the good teams. So now, good goalies can also support bad teams, but that didn't happen in Everett, where 3 players are in the top 20 in point scoring, and they have a defenseman second in point scoring by a defenseman. And before concluding, I want to mention salary retention. So Carolina retained 50% of Lack's salary. I believe this is because the Flames had Mike Smith, and they weren't expecting to need Lack for more than 20 games. They didn't want to pay so much for him, so they made the salary retention part of the trade. So in conclusion, Calgary traded away a defenseman that never played for them, a right winger who might never play for them, for a backup goalie who played 4 games for them, and a forward they put on unconditional waivers the next day. Can I just say that nobody won? Except, wait, there's a 7th rounder. Right, there's a 7th rounder. That 7th rounder could go on to play in the NHL, could never go on to play in the NHL, except the way he's been playing, he has a real chance to make it. We'll find out this year, when he hopefully plays in his first AHL game after signing his first pro contract. If he performs well, then I believe Calgary wins this deal. If Kevin Wall ends up making the NHL, and Wolf doesn't, Carolina wins. It's that simple. If they both get to the NHL, Calgary wins. Because they took a flyer in the 7th round. They had to develop him, and if he gets to the NHL, Calgary wins. Right now, the team that has a better player is the Calgary Flames, so I believe Calgary wins this trade. And, Brad Treliving won the biggest trade of his career so far with the Calgary Flames. One last note, we can agree that the main piece of this trade was Eddie Lack, right? The Flames needed a backup since Chad Johnson was traded away, as we mentioned at the beginning, and Brian Elliott, the starter from the previous year, was not being brought back, so they traded for a backup goalie. However, Lack only played 4 games for them. Then he was traded away. The funny thing is that another piece of the trade is a 7th round pick. With that pick, the Flames chose a goalie. That goalie is named Dustin Wolf. And one day, Wolf might end up with the backup job. So, by trading it for Eddie Lack, the Flames technically got a backup goalie, just not the one they thought they were getting. I do say technically because Wolf wasn't part of the trade, the 7th rounder was. But the Flames picked him with that pick, so I say, and I'm the one making this video, that the Flames got Dustin Wolf and a potential backup goalie from the trade with the Carolina Hurricanes on June 29th, 2017. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy your day.